Today we've got the maiden flight on the HSD F-16 105mm in the Thunderbird paint scheme. This is my first HSD plane. Some of the electronics on this thing with the flight controller and the customization with the lights, really nice, really good scale gear. The paint job is fairly detailed on this plane, looks pretty accurate to the real Thunderbirds. Let's take a look at the equipment we've got for today. We've got two SMC 6S 6200s. We've got two 2S 5200 roaring tops. For the flight controller, that controls the gear, the lights, and the servos. So the two 6S 6200s only power the motor. And that's a 12S configuration, so those are hooked up in series. And then on the back, we've got an AR637T, and we've got a remote serial receiver up here on the front, just underneath the fuselage at the top. There you can see the flight controller. That controls some of the rates and sub-trim if you want to. However, that's where the battery's hooked to, and it gives you a digital readout on the voltage, which is really nice. So you can just flip it on and check your batteries. You can also cycle your gear from that, so you don't actually have to bind it to the plane and cycle the gear. As long as you got the batteries in there, you can power it up, all the lights will come on, and you can cycle the gear up and down just by pushing a button. So we've talked about this F-16 long enough. Let's get it up in there and try to get this maiden completed.
Pushing batteries forward just a little bit. That elevator's fairly touching. Now it's kind of nosing down. So the trim is flying pretty true. Landing. I'll take it. Let's go. Woo.
Maiden flight completed on the HSD F-16 105. So let's talk about the maiden flight and some of the things I noticed in flight as far as characteristics and the setup. And we'll look at the battery results. First thing, you notice when I put it on the runway, I backed it all the way up to the edge of the runway. Wanted to make sure I had plenty of distance and use the runway available. It's a 330-foot runway, so I want to get enough airspeed to get this plane in the air and also try to keep it from jumping up aggressive, which can happen sometimes on an F-16. Took off. The extra little bit of elevator definitely helped it climb up, as far as I had it on high rate, and also I had a little bit more up elevator static on the tail. So when it took out, it had both of those in its favor, and you'll notice it actually jumped off the ground pretty quick, and it's because I was running 100% elevator. Biggest thing I want to do is get it up to speed and be able to lift it out and climb out over the trees. That went great. You'll notice that it actually porpoised a little bit when I was first getting it adjusted out. It's because the nose was wanting to still go down just a little bit, and also that high elevator rate, it was kind of high elevator rate would pull it up, and then the nose would push it down because of the trim. Ever took it around, once we took it around and got it trimmed out, the main gear didn't go up, so I cycled it one time, and then we were good to go. Made a couple of passes, and felt smooth. The aileron controls were on point, and the rudder control was on point. So just need to tame down the elevator for future flights. Brought around, I was going to do a couple of touch and goes. I didn't have AS3X on today, so that was an AS3X off flight, and it felt good coming in with the headwind. Sat it down, put it down right in front of us. It rolled just a little bit, put the electric brakes on, came to a stop, completed the maiden flight. Definitely excited because this is probably the biggest jet I've flown off this runway, and it was definitely a success. So with that being said, we were up there for 2 minutes and 15 or 20 seconds. We were on a 3:15 timer, and we had just below a minute left. So let's see what we got. Now I will say I was pretty gentle on the throttle, just to make sure if it did run into trouble trying to put this thing down on the runway, we had plenty of go-arounds and juice available. However, one of the passes I made, I definitely punched it, and y'all be able to see that in the video. So on one battery got 404, and the other battery should be fairly close because we're running them in series for 12S. Same thing, 403, 404. Now, I don't go too much on the percentage because the percentage will be off a little bit, because that percentage is based upon charging a normal LiPo to 4.20, and with the LiHVs, we're charging them at 4.35. However, you notice we had plenty of battery life. That's really good flight time if I fly similar to that for future flights, because we were up a little bit over 2 minutes and 15 seconds on the throttle and have plenty of battery life left. So we should be able to take this one up for about 4 minutes when we put it through its paces. Speaking of, if you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and follow along to see that future flight review on the HSD F-16 105. Go ahead and give us a thumbs up today for our flight review of the maiden flight, and we'll see you on the next one.